Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. If you feel like you can't take a day off, let alone take a real vacation because the business needs you, this episode is for you. Today I want to look at vacations, leaves, and even sabbaticals through a completely different lens. Yes, time away can help you recharge, but I think it can also be one of the best opportunities you'll have all year to improve how you work, how you develop your team, and even advance your career. Before we jump in, I want to shout out a win from one of my clients in this area. Here's the quote from him. Coming back from vacation, I saw that my team member could handle that responsibility going forward, so I never took it back. It wouldn't have happened if it weren't for vacation and my being open to leaning more on my team. I love this story because it captures exactly what we're talking about today. Before his vacation, he was convinced there wasn't much that he could delegate. Most of us feel this way. We know our work so well that it all starts to feel essential. While this client was away from the office, one of his team members took over a recurring responsibility. Not only did she handle it, she handled it well. When he came back, he realized there was no reason for him to take it back. Just like that, he freed up roughly half a day every week. Half a day. Think about what you could do with an extra half a day every week. More strategic thinking, coaching your team, building relationships, working on improvements that you've been postponing, maybe even leaving work on time a little more often. Vacation didn't just give him a week off. It permanently changed how he spent his time. Something else happened while he was away. One thing that had continued to fall to the bottom of his list was figuring out how AI could help him with his workload. After every vacation, he would come back to the same mountain of email and messages. He had accepted it was the price of taking time off. This time, instead of simply digging out again, he decided to solve the problem. He invested time in creating an AI agent that helped him work through messages much faster. Now that investment doesn't just help after vacations, it helps every week when he's been in meetings all day and comes back to an overflowing inbox. We came up with another change to institute after his vacation. Instead of spending days trying to find every important message that came in while he was away, he communicated something different to his stakeholders. He told them, if there's something that came up while I was out that still needs my attention, please raise it with me again. That may sound simple, but it changed the dynamic completely. Rather than assuming he had to hunt for the needle in the haystack, he asked others to help surface what was truly important. It also taught people how to communicate urgent issues more effectively. His vacation became an opportunity to experiment with what urgent really meant. Should people text him, put urgent in the subject line, mention his name in a chat, wait until he returned? Those conversations helped establish more clear expectations for everyone. His vacation wasn't just time away. It became an opportunity to redesign how work happened. Similar victories are shared by all of my clients, and I have experienced it too in my own career turnaround. So let's hop to today's podcast content and get you on your way to experiencing this also. It's the season for a vacation. Some of you may have parental leaves, medical leaves, or even sabbaticals coming up too. But even if none of these apply, I think the ideas we're talking about today can help you take a fresh look at your role. Let's start with something that keeps many of us from taking time off in the first place. When I was a chief operating officer, summer was actually one of the busiest times of my year. People assume things slow down in the summer because families are traveling and schools are out. That wasn't my experience at all. Summer meant mid-year reviews, quarterly business reviews, promotion discussions, promotion committees, annual planning, our leadership offsite, and somehow it also became the season when other departments wanted everything from ours because they assumed that we would have more capacity. Deadlines were everywhere. At the same time, school was out. The weather was beautiful, finally, and my kids were at home. There was never a shortage of reasons why it felt like I should postpone taking time off. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're looking at your calendar thinking, I'll wait for vacation until things calm down. Or maybe even postpone that surgery until things calm down. The problem is, they rarely do. There's always another project, another deadline, another fire drill, another reason why this doesn't seem like the right time. So let's go a little deeper. What actually keeps us from taking vacation? We might tell ourselves, the business will come to a halt without me. They won't know what to do. They can't get it done. On the surface, those sound like practical concerns, but underneath them are some deeper beliefs. Sometimes we overestimate how critical we are. Sometimes we underestimate the people around us. Sometimes we overestimate how important the work actually is. Sometimes we accept a false sense of urgency around things that could easily wait a few days. I've also noticed something else over the years. Many high performers don't just want to contribute. They want to matter. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all want our work to make a difference. We want to know that we're helping. We want to know that our efforts have impact. The challenge comes when we begin equating being valuable with being required. Those are not the same thing. You can become required because no one else knows how to do something, because information lives only in your head, because every decision has to go through you, because everyone has learned to ask you instead of figuring it out themselves. That does not necessarily make you more valuable. Sometimes it simply means you've become a bottleneck. That's a tough thought, I know. I've had to wrestle with it myself. If we're honest, sometimes being needed feels good. It makes us feel important. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel that we're contributing. It makes us feel appreciated. Sometimes we even begin to believe that if people don't need us as much, maybe we're becoming less valuable. I don't think that's true at all. In fact, I think the opposite is often true. The leaders who create the greatest long-term value, they build people and systems that continue working even when they aren't in the room. That's leadership. Not because people don't need you, but because you've helped them grow. Life has a way of reminding us of this, whether we're ready or not. I remember one morning I was due back at work after vacation, but instead of the flight home, I ended up taking an Uber to the emergency room. I had appendicitis. A little while later, I was in emergency surgery. There wasn't an option to answer email. There wasn't an option to finish the work I'd planned for that day. There wasn't an option to attend meetings. The decision had been made for me. And you know what? The business continued. People figured it out. They always do. That experience stayed with me because it reminded me that not one of us is immune from something unexpected happening. It could be an illness, a family emergency, an accident, something happening to someone we love. We all hope these moments never come, but they do happen. So knowing that, isn't it better to prepare our teams while we have the chance rather than waiting until life forces us to? That's one of the biggest mindset shifts I hope that you'll take away from today's conversation. Preparing people to succeed without you isn't a sign that you're less valuable. It's one of the clearest signs that you're leading well. Before we get into the practical steps today, I want to challenge one more idea. Sometimes we tell ourselves that avoiding vacation is a sacrifice we're making for the good of the business. I don't think that's always true. And this is coming from someone who said that many times. If the business genuinely couldn't function without us for a week, that's not a badge of honor. It's a risk. Think about it from your manager's perspective. Would they rather have one person who holds everything together, or a team where knowledge is shared, people can step in for one another, and work continues no matter who is out? Most leaders would choose the second every time. That's the kind of organization we should all want to help build. One of my clients works at a regulated bank where employees are required to take 2 consecutive weeks off a couple of times a year. At first, that sounds specific, but of course, there's a reason behind it. It helps uncover fraud and control issues because someone else has to perform your responsibilities. It also exposes key person risk. If the business can't function without one individual, that's something the organization needs to address. I've always thought there was another benefit too. It forces people to rest. It forces managers to develop other people. It forces teams to cross-train. And every year, it creates opportunities to rethink who should be doing what. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Now let's broaden the conversation beyond vacations. Maybe you have a parental leave coming up. I took 2 maternity leaves, each one about 6 months long. Maybe you're preparing for a medical leave. One of my clients is about to have surgery that requires an extended recovery. Maybe your company offers a sabbatical. One of my friends works for an organization that gives employees an 8-week sabbatical after a certain number of years of service. Or maybe you're listening to this thinking, none of these apply to me. That's okay, because I think the same principles apply after a long weekend, a 1-week vacation, the start of a new year, or even simply reaching the midpoint of the year as we are now. Any interruption in our normal routine gives us something we rarely have: perspective. Most of us work on autopilot. We inherit responsibilities, we volunteer for things, someone leaves and we absorb their work, a project ends but the meetings stay on the calendar, reports continue because they've always continued, and little by little our role grows. Not necessarily in the ways that create the most value, just bigger. Then one day we step away. While we're gone, something interesting happens. Some things continue just fine. Some things are handled by someone else. Some things don't happen at all. And sometimes nobody notices. I think every leader has had this experience. You come back from vacation convinced you'll spend 2 days putting out fires. Instead, you discover half the emergencies solve themselves. The issue that everyone thought couldn't wait, resolved. The customer concern, handled. The meeting you thought absolutely required your attendance, it happened without you. That can be humbling, but it's also incredibly freeing. It helps us separate what feels urgent from what actually matters. I've also seen the opposite. Sometimes the person covering for you comes up with a better way. Our first reaction might be a little defensive. I've always done it this way. But what if their fresh eyes helped improve the process? What if your absence created space for innovation that wouldn't have happened if you'd been there? That's a gift. One of my clients experienced exactly that. His manager went on sabbatical. Rather than simply keeping everything running exactly as it had been, the team decided to experiment. They had been frustrated by recurring fire drills in one of their major processes. Since the manager was away, they treated it like a proof of concept. What if they approached the work differently? What if they planned further ahead? What if they collaborated earlier instead of reacting at the end? They tried it. The result? Fewer emergencies, less stress, more thoughtful planning. So when the manager returned, my client didn't simply hand everything back. Instead, he said something like this: "We tried something while you were away. We'd love your feedback before deciding whether to adopt it permanently." I love that approach. It wasn't about proving the manager wrong or saying, "Hey, look, we fixed your process." It was about inviting him into an improvement that benefited everyone. Before this, his manager had been working long hours, always on, always involved, always needed. Maybe his time away from the office didn't just help him recover. Maybe it also created the opportunity for the team to discover a better way of working together. That's leadership. So here's the question I'd encourage you to ask whenever someone goes on leave, whether it's you, your manager, or someone on your team. Instead of asking, "How do we keep everything exactly the same?" ask, "What can we learn while this person is away? What experiments could we run? What assumptions could we challenge? What process have we been meaning to improve? What responsibility might be ready for someone new? What meeting could disappear? What report could be simplified? What approval step might no longer be necessary?" These windows don't come along very often. Don't waste them. And when you come back, or your colleague comes back, don't simply press play on the version of work you paused. Come back with fresh eyes. Decide intentionally what deserves to return with you and what doesn't. That's where the real opportunity begins. So how do you actually do that? Let's walk through a process I use with clients that works, whether you're taking 6 months away, 2 weeks away, or simply using this as a mid-year reset. Let's walk through a simple exercise. Imagine you weren't taking a 1-week vacation, but instead you were going to be away for 6 months. How would you prepare? Thinking this way forces you to look at your work differently. Step 1, get everything out of your head. Start by making a list of everything you spend your time on: your meetings, your projects, recurring responsibilities, reports, processes, the people who regularly depend on you, the decisions that always seem to land on your desk. Don't rely on memory. Look through your calendar, your email, your chats, your task list, even your recent phone calls. You'll probably be surprised by how many different things compete for your attention in a normal week. As you build your list, add a few notes beside each item. How often does it happen? Roughly, how much time does it take? Who else is involved? You don't need exact numbers. You're simply creating a clearer picture of where your time actually goes. Step 2, ask, what would happen if I disappeared tomorrow? It's a simple question, but it's revealing. For every responsibility, ask yourself, who could step in? Would they truly know what to do? Or would they immediately be calling or texting you? If they couldn't do it independently, why not? Do they need more training, more documentation, more opportunities to practice? Could they own it once a month now so that they would be ready when the time came? Then ask an even more interesting question. Should they own it now? Not just while you're away, but permanently. Sometimes we hold on to work simply because we've always done it, not because we're the best person to keep doing it. When you delegate, don't make it feel like you're unloading work. Help people see what they'll gain: more visibility, more experience, more confidence, more opportunities to demonstrate they're ready for larger responsibilities. When done well, delegation isn't piling on work on someone's plate. It's giving them something, opportunity. Step 3, eliminate, simplify, automate. Now let's look at what's left on your list. Some work doesn't need a new owner. It simply doesn't need to exist anymore. Vacations have a funny way of exposing work that's running on habit instead of value. Maybe a report that nobody reads, a meeting that keeps getting scheduled because it's always been there, a manual process that could be simplified, or something AI could handle in minutes instead of you spending an hour every week. This is my client who returned from vacation to another mountain of email. Instead of accepting this as the cost of taking time off, he asked himself a different question. How do I solve this once instead of solving it after every vacation? That question led him to build an AI agent that now helps him every single week. Vacation didn't create the problem. It finally gave him enough distance to solve it. I love that lesson. Don't just catch up after your vacation. Fix the things that made catching up so painful. Step 4, be intentional about what fills the space. This is my favorite step. When you've delegated, eliminated, simplified, and automated, you've created space. Don't let your calendar immediately fill that space with more busy work. Choose it. Ask yourself, if someone handed me 5 extra hours every week, what would create the greatest return? Maybe it's mentoring someone on your team, building stronger relationships, thinking more strategically, learning AI, improving a process, meeting with customers, developing a new skill, preparing for your next role, having conversations you've been avoiding, working on the project you've been saying you'll get to when things slow down. That day rarely comes. You have to create it. Sometimes the activities that advance your career are the very ones that get pushed aside because they're harder to define and they may not feel urgent. Ironically, they're often the highest return work that you can do. Maybe your manager has a vacation coming up, or maybe they're simply overwhelmed. What could you offer to take off their plate? Not forever, just as an experiment. Invite their feedback, see what happens. Sometimes that's how entirely new opportunities begin. You know, we often think that being needed for what we do today is what creates job security. I would like to offer that the opposite is usually true. If you're holding on to today's work so tightly that you never have time to grow into tomorrow's work, you may actually be limiting yourself. The goal isn't to become harder to replace. The goal is to become capable of creating value at the next level. That's what promotions are built on. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. The saddest examples I've seen aren't people who take too much vacation. They're people answering emails from Disney World, taking calls from the emergency room, joining meetings on their wedding day, missing moments with their children because work always came first. I think we can do better than that. And here's the encouraging part. When you build a team that's capable without you, when you help people grow, when you improve systems, when you challenge old habits, everyone benefits. Your team grows, you grow, and the business becomes stronger. And yes, you get to take a real vacation. So whether you have a vacation coming up, or leave or sabbatical, or you're simply using the middle of the year as a chance to reset, don't waste this opportunity. Don't come back and simply resume your job. Come back and redesign it. Thanks so much for spending this time with me today. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.